מבוגר, איך נפלתי כמו פתי במלכודת מהפלת פח של הבטחות. שקרים אין קץ, אנשים שומעים את שליבם לשמוע מבקש. עוד הייתי ילד לא יותר כשעזבתי את ביתי, בחברת שרים ישבתי על ספסל בתחנת רכבת מפוחד. לי אף אחד, את פושטי היד חיפשתי ברחובות הדוחים, והלכתי רק לאן שהם הולכים. לילה 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 לילה. רק פרוטות ביקשתי כשחיפשתי עבודה, אך לא קיבלתי, רק ריצה מהפרוצות שעל המדרכות. אני מודה שלפעמים בחברתם הייתי מתעודד. לה 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 לה. ובחורף בלי בגדים חמים רציתי לחזור אל ביתי, רק לברוח משיניה של ניו יורק בכפור, לחזור אל ביתי. בזירה נלחם כל לילה, מתאגרף במקצועו, על גופו נושא וזכר כל כפפה שבו עלמה ושחתכה בו שפצעה, עד שפתע הוא זועק די גמרתי, די גמרתי, אך נשאר שם ושותק. לה 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 לה. לילה 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 לילה
heartfelt greeting, sincere shalom to each of you, everyone tonight. Tonight at Havdalah, we celebrate Rabbi Michael Torah. There he is. His 20-year rabbinate with our synagogue this month, the Hebrew month of Tammuz, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, reaches its culmination. And through prayer, through song, through spoken word, our program honors Rabbi Torah, who is with us in the sanctuary. Oh, by the way, wow, is it about wonderful to be in the sanctuary? Rabbi Michael Torah is here tonight. event, I'm talking to most of you folks on Zoom or webinar, whatever it is we have tonight. The conventional wisdom was that this was going to be a Zoom-only event. Nobody in person. Well, we're thrilled. We're just elated that our projection was not accurate. And we have attendees. Here we all are. Wave. To go along with our Temple family, all of who are remote tonight. And we want you out there in the Zoom and the webinar world to know just who's here, because we'd like all of you to be here, but we were limited. So we have our newly invested summit leads of our Board of Trustees. We have our current president, Mike Shapiro. We have a past president or two. I see Craig and I see a couple of others in attendance here. And we have our immediate past presidents as well, Lisa and Stephanie. And we have the congregants who made up Rabbi's committee, the retirement committee. We have our speakers, and as I mentioned, we have Rabbi Torah. So on behalf of all of us here, welcome to all of you out there in the ether that is Zoom. And one more thing, Rabbi Jen Mangle, you may be driving, so wherever you are, welcome. We want you to get your pastel here safely. Friends and relatives as well. Remember Rabbi Torok's words those nights? More people in this sanctuary and social hall when the door was open than I'd ever seen. That was a moment. That was our Rabbi Torok. And Rabbi, your sermons over the years, oh my. I only just want to point out personally, since I get personal privilege, may I just say that in October of 2019, after I finished my Kol Nidre presentation, I had no idea you were going to step up and give the most incredibly touching sermon that you titled Mental Illness, Stigma and Shame. I was thunderstruck. I know my wife was, Pitsy, who's here. Beautifully done. And are any of you aware of the poems that Rabbi Torb has composed over the years? Why don't you do your heart and head a favor and go back and read a poem called Bird Songs, What Do They Say? From May of 2020 that Michael Torb authored. And finally, if you need some perspective about how to start your day, how to navigate and frame what goes on in your world, I invite you to the prayer that our Rabbi Michael Torb wrote for himself as part of his own personal journey. And that poem is titled The Way. I commend you to take a look at that. It's beautiful. Rabbi, I know you're fond of the message from Proverbs, which you know by heart, Nishmat Adam Ner Adonai, that the soul of the individual is the candle or light of God. You even said that on a Bay News 9 piece that aired just last December. Some of you might have seen it. And you said, and I'll quote your own words, if our souls are like the candle or light of God, then giving of ourselves is like shining our light. And you concluded, the lesson, giving your light to others, only makes the light grow stronger. It is a force of hope. Rabbi, you indeed have shined your light on all of us countless times over these 20 years. And we all, every single one of us, are enriched and ennobled by your sharing the light. It is a force of hope. So I say thank you. Toda Rabbah. My friends, tonight we're going to hear from a lot of nice folks. And we're going to hear some music. And we're going to have our Havdalah. And you're going to get to enjoy and drink in everything that we want you to absorb and feel tonight. And we hope Rabbi and his whole family feels the love. So we're going to begin, QQQ, with our Havdalah blessings. I think you have a program. And you're going to hear the beauty that is voice and music that is Nashville's finest, Barbara Mazer. And our Temple's Jammin' Jews, who we haven't seen in a long time. That would be Lance, ding, ding, ding. Stephen Miller, bass. John, Douglas. I present you the Jammin' Jews. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, leading off our luminous lineup is Havdalah. He's Craig Shear, our synagogue's past president, twice in fact. A Northwestern alum, personal privilege like my nephew, and a kindred spirit on the music front. And I'll just tell you, since we saw Paul Simon, that I and my wife Bitsy ran into Craig and Jan and Howard in front of like 20,000 people in the same row almost at the Paul Simon concert at Amalie Arena not so long ago. So Craig, my friend, if you please.
I can't tell you what a pleasure it is to be here tonight. I didn't realize how much I missed this place over the last 15 months that I came here tonight. Seeing all of you, rabbis, family, it's quite an emotional time and a moving time, at least for me. I'm sure you all feel that way. It's good to see all of you. We can't believe it's been 20 years since you came to be our rabbi. Remember being as excited as you were to begin a new journey together. We were coming off a tough period, and you were a perfect fit for our needs to both heal and move forward. You and Betsy brought us a wonderful family of 3, back then, young children. We all took great pleasure in watching them grow up and be an essential part of our Temple Beth-El family. Betsy carved out a great rabbinate in Brandon, and we all experienced the joys of your flourishing family. While virtually every congregant has their own stories of your relationship with them and they with you, to me you have been an essential part of our family's good times, great times, and yes, difficult times. Like dozens of other congregants, you helped our daughter Stacy and our son Will navigate through their engagement and marital journey. While you could not officiate their marriage, your counseling and advice set them on their own spiritual course. You helped stimulate Will's interest in Judaism and privately enabled his conversion. At the same time, you've been vocal about how their marriage and others helped you come to your own conclusions on officiating certain interfaith marriages. Like dozens of other congregants, you helped us through the difficult end-of-life process. You were an important part of the lives of Sonia and Erwin Miller and my mother, Anita Scher. You counseled, comforted, and prayed with them and with us, and made some of life's most difficult moments more understanding and more palatable. You were incredibly insightful, assisting us with life's most difficult decisions, helping our families rationalize, grieve, and begin to emerge from these difficult times are one of your greatest strengths. Like dozens of other congregants, you helped celebrate the births of our grandchildren and so many others. Your officiating of countless brisses and baby namings were a tremendous source of joy for so many families. You've been such a big part of the lives of our congregational children, like Paige Conroy, my granddaughter here. Literally from cradle to marriage, your impact has been profound. Like dozens of other congregants, we've enjoyed your sermons, or at least the ones I understood. Your range of messages were impressive, from the Torah teachings to social justice issues to personal introspection. While you can never please everyone, you tended to hit on way more than you missed. You celebrated in the positive feedback and learned from the many professional sermon critics, like everyone in the congregation. You learned early on to keep the length under the magical 20 minutes. Like dozens of other congregants, we enjoyed your commitment to making music such a big part of our services and our celebrations. Your energetic guitar strumming and singing while smiling were infectious and energizing. You introduced new melodies but kept the greatest hits. You were a big presence on the Bema, but you were generous in sharing the spotlight with your co-officiants and congregants. You knew when to be large and in charge, but you also knew when to take the back seat. When you were on the Bema, you were the king of schwitz. It was never safe to sit in the first few rows. You were like being in a Gallagher show when he starts chopping the watermelon. One of the first things that come to my mind when I think of you and will carry with me as the years go on is your personal commitment to and your leadership on congregational relating to social action, social justice, and equity. Our temple has stood out among all others in taking action, whether it be fast and its various and ever-changing issues, to mitzvah days, and as Steve said, to the plight of migrant workers, to walking the MLK and Pride parades, to a myriad of other issues. I admire your ability to push us to touch the controversial edges of righteousness, fairness, and equity. You balance the various views of our congregation against what you determine to be appropriate in doing the right thing. You were relentless in attempting to help those in financial, physical, or emotional need. You quietly turned to many of us congregants to help. We tried to never turn you down, as we knew you were only called when you really needed our help. I learned a long time ago that rabbis are humans who happen to be rabbis and not rabbis who happen to be human. Just like us congregants, rabbis are not perfect. They're not superhuman. You and your family were not immune to life's most difficult issues. You tried to daily help us through our difficult times. Hopefully we helped you and your family during your rough spots as well. I've learned through my 68 years that life is not linear, that there are ups and downs and curves and potholes and things that just appear. There are times when we come up big for each other, and there are times perhaps when we disappoint. You tried to help us understand some of your personal struggles through your journey. We tried to have Rahmanas as we begin to comprehend what you were going through. There was no one else that we would have wanted to be our rabbi in the last 20 years. We all have emerged better people for sharing 2 decades together. Who knows what tomorrow brings, but we are thrilled that the Torps and Temple Beth-El will be forever entwined in the future. Regardless of what comes as we turn to expand, the Temple Beth-El family, of which you are one of our patriarchs, has been and will be there for each other. May you and your family be continually blessed with good health, happiness, and all of God's blessings. Amen.
Oh,
also wanted to say, before I present her, that in my earlier remarks, I want to make sure that I know who I see with my eyes. And I see Cecile Burko, one of our former presidents, is also here. And I think I said, if I didn't, I see Stephanie, I know Lisa are here. So if I mention your names, I mention Mike, and I think that irrepressible Joe Storensis is in the building also. There he is. Oh, and there's Beth Rosenbluth, excuse me, whose husband is on the guitar. Sorry, in-law, brother-in-law. As I say in my house, I stand corrected. All right, my friends. Next in our luminous ledger is Rebecca Morancic, to whom I affectionately and respectfully refer as the esteemed Dr. Harris. She can't stand that. And Rebecca embodies the term, if you want something done, give it to a busy woman or a busy man, gender neutral. And whose daughter, Dahlia, personal privilege, I love teaching in my Sunday school class. Self-effacing to a fault, yes, and who steps up each and every time she's called upon. I give you Rebecca Morancic. Rebecca, if you please.
Thank you, Steve. And hello, everybody. It's so good to be here. I almost have no words, but you know me, I have many words. It's okay. So we've heard from Steve, Craig, we've seen this great video. I think it actually took care of everything that I've written down. But let me ask you a question. Of everything you've heard so far, where do you think that Rabbi is most in his element? That's a rhetorical question. I'm sure that many of you are thinking, well, duh, the bima, here we are, Rabbi Torup is most comfortable on the bima, and probably this one right here, not the Zoom one, though you did a great job on Zoom. And he's most comfortable giving sermons and talking Torah. And it's true that over the years, Rabbi's sermons have taught us about his own professional transformation, as Craig said, in his decision to perform interfaith marriages, which we all learned a lot from. We discovered his empathy for those struggling with their mental health, and we learned just how personal that was. And as Steve said, you really do, Rabbi, have a gift at a B'nai Mitzvah to tie the student's Torah portion to his or her own personality, and often with a funny prop or two. I remember at Dahlia's where you plucked a rose out of the bouquet, and all of the women in the congregation kind of went, From the pulpit, you've opened our eyes to the many injustices in our community. You've convinced us to join fast and work tirelessly to put our Jewish values into action. But maybe you think Rabbi is most in the zone when he's playing music. Last night, as the one-man band up here on the bima, you certainly proved that again. Many of you will remember seeing Rabbi at our annual camping trip with his 12-string guitar sitting by the campfire, sometimes alone, but he loved it. Or you've seen him at a Jam and Jews service, tapping his toes to the music like I see you doing this evening. 1 minute tapping his toes, the next minute he's got the bongos right here, just drumming to his own beat. Or he's gamely joining me to sing karaoke at our Purim celebration, not realizing I've accidentally chosen the very cheesy and embarrassing duet, "You Don't Bring Me Flowers Anymore." And speaking of Purim, is that where Rabbi's greatest strengths lie? I thought about this during the spring when I saw Kendra's other amazing video and photo montage showing Rabbi celebrating Purim throughout the years. And if you haven't seen that, let me know. I will send you the link. I'm fairly certain that Rabbi pushed his son Aaron to rabbinical school just so he'd have extra space for all of his Purim costumes. Did you ever wonder why Rabbi used those fancy Zoom backgrounds during Shabbat services? It was actually to hide that crazy black wig that you saw, 27 robes, sunglasses, and random bling. Clearly, Rabbi excels in many areas. But if you really want to see Rabbi Torab in his element, you have to get to a parade. In particular, Rabbi shines at our Martin Luther King parade. Years ago, Rabbi got the idea to bring a shofar with him to wake up people to the injustices in our community. And what a sight this was to behold. In spite of being surrounded by glamorous floats, student marching bands, beads, and other swag, Rabbi would have the crowd eating out of his hand. He'd practically walk into a sea, the sea of parade watchers, shouting out, "How y'all doing?" Little kids would shout back, "Blow the horn! Blow the horn!" And just for them, he would do it, and the crowd would go wild. More recently, we began participating in the night parade for Pride Month. In the first year, 2018, Rabbi couldn't make it, and it was okay. But Rabbi joined us in 2019, and it was a totally different experience. You remember. I'm pointing at Betsy because I said to her then, I think, this is where Michael belongs. Whenever our truck, which was holding a chuppah in support of marriage equality, whenever the truck stopped, Rabbi would again walk out to the crowd, and he would say, "When I say shalom, you say shalom. Shalom!" And hundreds of revelers, possibly drunk, shout back, "Shalom!" and on and on. This, my friends, is our Rabbi Torah. Energetic. That is not our Rabbi. This is our Rabbi Torah. Energetically championing social justice while not forgetting our Jewish foundations and having fun at it too. Rabbi, thank you for showing us. I can't look at you. Thank you for showing us how to talk the talk and walk the walk, and how to pray with our feet. Thank you.
Well done, well done. You can tell Rebecca's a professor because she's unfazed. You can hear a boom and she's fine. Well, speaking of the Torahs, next in our luminous lineup is Aaron Torah, who is well on the road to his own ordination as a rabbi, and I learned in my research, if you didn't know, recently wrote an article titled, "What Mick Jagger Taught Me About Teaching Torah to First Graders." There you go. And who is poised, like his wonderfully gifted parents, to marry another individual who's going to be a rabbi, and I understand that her name is Madeline Budman. Go figure. And Aaron, who like me, is a graduate of American University. Makes me proud. And personal privilege, much to my astonishment, while in my 8th grade Sunday school class, and I love teaching him, Aaron, without blinking an eye, correctly and coolly, I swear this is true, spelled onomatopoeia. And I just said, wow. And back then I had a gig for my students that I would take them to lunch if they did whatever it was. So Aaron, cagey young man that he was, he said, "Sure, Mr. Steve, we'll go to lunch." And where did we go? Had a few dollars. Salt Rock Grill. Aaron, like Gideon and Hannah, is a gift to his family and a gift to all of the young people and the families he will help. And with Rabbi to be Budman, it's exciting. So if Desmond tells me the technology is going to work, I'm going to sit down and I hope Aaron will appear, maybe from Cincinnati.
Hi, everyone. I hope that you can see me. Welcome to my living room in Cincinnati. I'm joined by my fiancée, Madeline, who's off screen, as Steve mentioned. It's so great to be able to present in this way tonight. I have to say that Rebecca stole my thunder just a little bit, because I too was going to start by talking about the Martin Luther King Jr. Parade. It's a story that I pull out often when people ask me about my Jewish background, my upbringing, what really has motivated me in this path. So I remember when I was quite young, I would be the one blowing the shofar before I moved away, and Dad took over, and we had this convertible. I think, in fact, it was Steve's red convertible, if I remember correctly. We would sit in the back of the convertible, and Dad would shout, "Sound the horn for justice!" And then I would blow the shofar, and sometimes Alexis Kelly or others would be there. And I have to say that as much fun as it was, as much as the crowd seemed to enjoy it, it also felt a little awkward, not quite knowing who the folks were around us, not explaining what a shofar was, and also when we were walking or moving, I was never in marching band, so walking and driving and blowing the shofar was a lot of things to do all at once. But throughout the parade, we would wave our signs and march and blow the shofar. And at the end, I was always so proud of being able to do that, of being able to show up in that way for our Jewish community and for our community at large, bringing our full selves to that experience. And it was really through the MLK parade and through our synagogue's involvement in fast that you really taught me about how Judaism is not just something that happens in here, whether or not that's at home, at the temple, on Zoom, but also out there, that our expression of Judaism calls us to engage with the broader community. You've shown me how your commitment to Judaism and your relationship with God demands that we partner with Jews and non-Jews in our whole community to work together to build a more just and whole world. And really, for me, it's this commitment to social justice and the Jewish values that call us to work in the broader world. That's what made me want to become a rabbi and go to rabbinical school, in addition to needing another use for all of the Purim costumes. But you also taught me that our justice work is not just something that happens at one stage of life, not just with adults, but needs to happen at every stage of life. I remember growing up, and I'm sure that Hannah and Gideon do as well, the hours that you spent planning the confirmation trips, how excited you were to travel with teens, and how eager the three of us were to one day go on that trip ourselves. From the restaurants to late night conversations, from Jewish learning to experiencing all that New York had to offer. It was clear how much you relished the opportunity to work with teens, helping them grow into their full selves. Your commitment to youth group and summer camp, and how alive you are with kids from the age of 2 at Tat Shabbat all the way through working with the CITs at camp. You believe in the future and in the children, and in our power and ability to make a difference. I know that when Hannah participates in youth group and volunteers at Camp Jenny, when she does her lobbying and public speaking, she does so in part because you helped teach her and all of us that youth's voices, that her voice matters. I know we saw earlier a photo of your trip to Lataken, and that was a very impactful trip for both of you, helping Hannah, helping all of the kids at Temple find and express themselves on things that they really care about. Lastly, you also taught us that we need to take time to replenish our own souls and recharge. We can't do our best or the work that needs to be done if we're not taking time to rest, reflect, and sing. And it's your passion for music and Jewish music that has filled us with love and joy, no one more so than Gideon, whose weekly Shabbat attendance is evidence of how meaningful Jewish music has been to our family and to our entire community. While I was never there as often as Gideon was, I too came to value and cherish Jewish prayer and music as a way to fuel my work. Dad, you did what I don't think is easy, and I know doesn't always happen. You helped each of the three of us feel at home at Temple in our own way, in justice work, in youth group, in music. You helped us discover what part of Jewish life is most meaningful for us and nurtured that within us. You did that not only for your three kids, but for our entire community. The Temple Beth-El community that you helped lead and develop was so instrumental in forming each of our Jewish identities. A legacy that, as the rabbi of Temple Beth-El and a father, that I hope you are proud of. We all love you, and we're excited to see where your passions will take you, the continuing ways that you can contribute to our entire community. And all of us will benefit greatly, have benefited greatly, and are so lucky to have you leading us on our Jewish journeys. We love you.
Which is a guitar tie that you used to have. And I love that tie because I love guitar. I don't play like these guys, but I love seeing your guitar tie. So hearing your brother made me remember that. Moving on, our luminous lineup continues. And we have another one of our own, homegrown, the Mayor of St. Petersburg, the Honorable Rick Kreitzman. Mr. Mayor, 1 second, sir. Speaking truth to power, how's that? The mayor, as some of you probably know, grew up here, along with some other fellow Temple Beth-El congregants I've come to learn, whether it's Gerald Davis or Mike Halper and even Gary Peltz. And I can thank Carrie, who I just saw just a few days ago, for confirming that for me. She didn't even realize that. And the mayor also had the very good sense to appoint Michael Toro to his transition team following his election in 2014. And Mr. Mayor, you have made us all extremely proud as Jews and as Temple Beth-El family by how you've conducted yourself in the public square, sir, and in public life, and how you've served our city with distinction and vision, and once again, personal privileges and master of ceremonies. I just love teaching Samuel Kreitzman in Sunday school. I don't know if he'll have a future in golf, but he's another one of the cool kids like Dahlia and all the other nice kids I got to teach. So, Mr. Mayor, if you please, sir.
And it's also nice to know that we aren't going to hear tonight, you're still on mute. What an honor it is for me to have been asked to say a few words about a man who certainly is deserving of more than a few words. For so many of us here at Temple Beth-El, Rabbi Michael Torup has been more than simply our rabbi and spiritual leader. He has been our friend, our confidant, the person we turn to in times of joy and celebration, and in times of great sorrow and sadness. And through all our personal, professional, and temple-related ups and downs, Rabbi has been that steady hand, that force of compassion, kindness, decency, and strength. Ready at a moment's notice to provide comfort or simply a smile and a laugh. I remember back to the days I served on the temple board, and the board was having dinner with a rabbinical candidate, Michael Torup, at Obistro. I think all of us left that dinner knowing that he was the right person to lead our temple. And thankfully, I didn't scare him away that night when, while seated next to him, I advised him I was thinking about ordering the pork chop. As mayor, I am particularly grateful to Rabbi Torup for his commitment to our great city. If you know St. Pete, you know our city hasn't had many Jewish mayors. And as a Jewish mayor, I have tried to awaken both our city government and our community to the fact that not everyone in this community is of the Christian faith. Rabbi is a visible presence in our community, whether speaking at forums, inviting the community to experience Shabbat services, or advocating for those in need. Rabbi Torup made my job of enlightening our community about Jews and Judaism that much easier. He's also impacted St. Pete through his servant leadership on many committees and boards, as was mentioned. In 2014, he served on my transition team. He served a second term as president of the Pinellas County Board of Rabbis. He co-chairs the Criminal Justice and Mental Health Services Committee of FAST, an interfaith coalition working on local social justice issues. He's co-chair of the advisory board of Gulf Coast Jewish Family Services. He is chairman of the Truckee Student Loan Fund and is a member of the board of trustees for Palms of Pasadena Hospital. Pretty busy guy. And if you've heard me speak before, you probably heard me recite our city's vision statement, and that statement has two parts. The first part is that St. Pete will be a city of opportunity where the sun shines on all who come to live, work, and play. Second part says that we will be an innovative, creative, and competitive community that honors its past as it pursues its future. And we don't achieve that vision without great partners, and Rabbi Torup has been a great partner to me and to this city. Since his arrival, Rabbi's service has focused on implementing his vision of creating actionable change and pursuing justice in our community. In partnership with Temple Beth-El members and community leaders, Rabbi Torup strives to fix what is broken in our world. He challenges us to become the best versions of ourselves. His leadership style of experimentation and innovation has helped us achieve our vision and has made St. Petersburg truly a better place to live, work, and play. And so, let me finish my remarks by stating, on behalf of the Christman family, I want to say thank you, Rabbi Torup, for the gift of Jewish education, enlightenment, spirituality, love, compassion, and kindness. All these gifts that you have bestowed on my family during your time at Temple Beth-El, and on behalf of the 270,000 residents of this great city, thank you so much for helping truly to make the sun shine so brightly on all of us here in St. Petersburg. We love you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving on in your program, my friends, one of the newer folks to join our synagogue family in the pro staff mode is Dan Berman. Dan is Temple Beth-El's Director of Education and Family Program. I hope some of you have met him, not just over Zoom, but in person. He needs to eat a little. He's so thin. Thank you, Louis. Dan had the daunting task of coming to work when a pandemic had taken over our world. Nonetheless, he embraced the challenges, performed with aplomb, ingratiating himself to his colleagues and to our families and children. Dan, wherever you are, you're out there somewhere, if you please. Here you are.
I was talking with the staff when they saw my name on the program, and they were laughing about how I got such a choice spot right in the middle. And I think I'm realizing that it's just that no one else was willing to follow the gravitas and oratory of the mayor of St. Petersburg. So I think I just got the spot as a fill-in there. It may be that I'm thin only because no one took me to a bistro when I was being hired here. As Steve mentioned, I began my term in the middle of all the weird world that we all experienced. In fact, Rabbi Torb and I didn't have a chance to meet in person for the first 9 months of my time here at Temple Beth-El, despite the fact of him being my supervisor. And, you know, we met every week virtually and kind of laughed each time about how weird the world is. I don't have the wonderful memories, like many of you do, of parades and of wonderful times that the rabbi has used his kindness and his empathy to really connect with each of you. One of the things about the role of a rabbi that I greatly admire is the ability to really touch throughout the entirety of the life cycle, from brisses through B'nai Mitzvah to, unfortunately, funerals. The rabbi is always there to build those relationships. And as someone who runs a program teaching in the past from preschool, now kindergarten through 12th grade, I completely admire and appreciate seeing those milestones that the kids have as they grow forward. Rabbi Torb, as many others have spoken about, has really given himself to the education of our youth, whether it be through direct service in B'nai Mitzvah, making sure that he really understands the children, what drives them, what their passions are, how he can inspire them to do more for their community. And this is a story that he actually may not be aware of, but when the role of Director of Education was actually presented to me by a friend of mine, I said, you know, I'm not quite sure that's the right fit for me. I worked in Jewish education before. I understand, you know, that tie between faith-based education and child development and how much we don't want to prescribe religious faith to the youngest in our community, that we want to let them grow on their own. But I found an article in one of our local newspapers, and it talked about how Rabbi Michael Torah had taken Temple Beth-El and promoted the ideas of community engagement and social justice, things that others have mentioned tonight. And that is really what drew me here to Temple Beth-El, the ability to shape and grow our youth in a community that already really values community engagement, social justice, caring for your fellow individuals, whether they be Jewish or not. And that is something that I really want to take to heart and continue that legacy that Rabbi Torah has put in place here at Temple Beth-El. I want to thank Betsy and the entire Torah family for sharing Michael with us here at the Temple Beth-El family. I understand the time commitment that goes into preparing for high holiday services or Sunday school or any of those things that take away from time that you all have together. But just hearing from so many here, it was not wasted. That time is definitely going to be remembered and valued. I want to speak on behalf of the Sunday school teachers over the years. Thank you, Michael Shora, from people who have held my position in the past. Thank you, Rabbi Torah, Toda Rabbah, and I wish you mazel tov in all of your endeavors going forward. I hope in your time as emeritus you continue to stay engaged with the temple, and I can rely on your wisdom and your guidance to help grow and shape the lives of our youth here at Temple Beth-El looking forward. So, thank you.
By the rivers of Babylon, where we sat down, and there we went, where we
Once again, beautiful music. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Next on our program, and our first clergy representative, is Reverend Andy Oliver. Reverend Oliver is the spiritual leader, here he is, of Allendale United Methodist Church and a close compatriot of Rabbi Torah. Recently, as I recall, inviting our rabbi to be a guest speaker for a Sunday sermon, I think, just a few months ago. At the Allendale congregation that Rabbi Oliver leads. We're happy to have you. Rabbi, listen to me, I'm so sorry. Reverend Oliver. And I wrote it out so I wouldn't say it. Forgive me, you folks on Zoom. I'm sorry. Reverend Oliver, I practiced today with Pitsy and I still screwed it up. Okay. Reverend Oliver, welcome. Please.
It's an honor to be here tonight. This is my first Havdalah. And so of course, before I came earlier this week, I called Karen Lieberman and said, what is Havdalah? And I learned this beautiful time that is the distinction between the sanctity of Shabbat and the ordinary life of the rest of the week. The spices that we passed around and smelled help us carry the sweet fragrance of Shabbat forward into the week. This thin space, a thin veil between the sacred and the ordinary. And so Rabbi Torah, I guess in a way tonight represents a thin space of transition from the sacredness of being set apart in this rabbinical office to a place of the ordinary. Although anyone who knows you knows that ordinary will never define you. For the ordinary week is where we hear the call to become co-creators with Yahweh in Tikkun Olam. In being colleagues with you these past 5.5 years that I've been at St. Pete, my cup of wine that marks the sacredness of tonight runneth over. We have again and again welcomed our congregations into each other's sanctuaries. When tragedy and evil struck, our people have sat Shiva with each other. Following Pittsburgh Tree of Life, we were here. And following the United Methodist Church condemning our LGBTQ members, your people showed up on Sunday morning to pass out flowers in the middle of the service. You have no idea how healing that was to my people. And after Parkland, you and I read the names of the child victims together. Williams Park with tears running down our cheeks. And we marched together when white supremacists descended on our city. And when a bullet was shot through a window of my preschool and we received some other threats, I told my wife that night that if something should happen to me, I wanted you to be the one to speak at my funeral. We have celebrated in bars, singing karaoke, and together we've called our elected officials accountable for affordable housing and mental health care. And you've had grace with me when I inadvertently added pork to the menu of one of our pastor and rabbi walk into a bar nights. You are a friend, you are a mentor, you are a hero to me, you're a brother. One of the things I appreciate the most are the brief conversations we have had where you have deepened my knowledge of the Scriptures, sharing with me the secrets from your tradition that are not part of mine. And so in turn, I close, allow me to paraphrase a letter from Paul to the church at Philippi. I thank my God every time I remember you. In all my prayers for you, I always pray with joy because of your partnership in the Scriptures from the first day until now. Being confident of this, that God who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. Whether I am in chains or out proclaiming justice, you share in God's grace with me. And this is my prayer, that your love may abound more and more in knowledge and depth of insight, so that you may be able to discern what is best and may be pure and blameless to the glory and praise of God. To you I thank my God. I thank my God. I thank my God.
So I'll just tell you a couple of things. As you know, music is integral to our Temple Beth-El service. It's obviously integral to the person we're honoring tonight, Rabbi Torah. And this evening we already had the pleasure and the continuing pleasure to hear our wonderful jamming Jews in Barbara. And now, thanks to the technology, you just heard the exquisite voice of Joyce Liu, our congregant who can't be here tonight, obviously, and her daughter Nina, who also was in my class, and I loved her. And at some point, if I have my act together, although I seem to be human, as Craig was saying, I'm human, we will hear from Joyce and her words about Rabbi Torah as well. That was lovely. And I want to just also say, Reverend Oliver, beautifully said, sir. So now, if you want to go back to your program, if I can get my act together up here, I believe we are next going to who I believe will be our youngest speaker tonight. and that is Mikey Tauber, whose dad, Mom, where is Phyllis? Is here. There she is. He's going to join us pre-recorded from Los Angeles, California. California, what I affectionately call the land of fruits and nuts. Mikey went all three Temple Beth-El, guys. He is the proud son, as I mentioned, of Phyllis and Paul. And like your master of ceremonies, that's me. And like Aaron Torah, Mikey is a proud graduate of the American University in Washington, D.C. And if I may say, like Aaron, and I didn't mention Gideon's in my class, and Hannah, and Samuel Kreitzman, I love being Mikey's teacher too. He was great. So Mikey, if you're watching out there, I say shalom to you. And now thanks to technology, cross your fingers, here is Mikey Tauber. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. I hope everyone can hear me. And hello, everyone. Welcome to my LA apartment and my living room. It really is wonderful to see so many familiar faces. I want to first start off by saying that Temple Beth-El, and you especially, Rabbi Torp, have been a continuous thread throughout my Jewish education, and from kindergarten through my bar mitzvah, to youth group, to confirmation, and to religious school teacher's aide. I mean, the list just keeps going on. And I guess you could just call me a Beth-El lifer. It all started for me in the fall of 2002. Not long after you came to Beth-El, my parents had heard about this person named Rabbi Torp, who was the most kind and kid-friendly, cool rabbi in town. So obviously we had to go there. And I can say that their instincts were spot on as usual. Over the years, your wisdom has enlightened me, your energy has challenged me, and your commitment to community service has helped shape who I am today. I became involved again with Sunday school teaching at a Reformed temple in Washington, D.C. during my college years. Nowadays, I regularly make sandwiches for the LA homeless with my California temple. And in no small measure did my experiences at Beth-El under your leadership inspire me. I remember that during our amazing confirmation trip with you to New York, you introduced us to all kinds of amazing places, like these restaurants I'm sure none of you have heard of, you know, that one Katz Deli, and dozens of other Jewish gems in New York. I also remember we all had trouble keeping up with your tremendous energy. I would look away for 1 second, and then you would be down the street waving at us to hurry up. And I also have to give you credit. You've let me throw pies at you for years during the Purim Carnival. I don't know how you did it or put up with it, but you did. So you're a really great sport. And as we come together for this Havdalah, it's especially fitting because Havdalah means a time of separation. So as we say goodbye to the Sabbath with you tonight, we also usher in a new beginnings. We will miss you, but we also hope to create a new, equally meaningful relationship as you enter your new chapter. So thank you so much.
pleasure continues with Rabbi Philip Weintraub of Congregation B'nai Yisrael, who also tonight is going to talk to us on behalf of the Pinellas County Board of Rabbis. And while Rabbi Weintraub is fairly new to the community, his CBI congregation has welcomed him with open arms, as we do tonight, albeit virtually and pre-recorded. Here now, pre-recorded, is Rabbi Weintraub.
On behalf of the Board of Rabbis, I want to express our appreciation for the service and the blessing of all your holy work, Rabbi Torab. You've been a friend to all of us over the years. You've been a mentor, a teacher, a professor of faith. You have brought our community together in so many different ways over the years. We are grateful for your service to the Board of Rabbis. We are grateful to your service of Beth-El. We are grateful for your service to the Pinellas County community. You have represented us in so many wonderful ways in our community, bringing the broader community the evidence that our Jewish community cares, that we are not living in our own bubble, but that we support the holy work of all in Pinellas County. So my prayer for you as you enter retirement is that you will find peace, that you will find new ways of acquiring Torah, that you will find new ways of sharing Torah, that you will continue to be the mensch that you are, and that in whatever holy work you do in the years to come, you will find peace and blessing within it. Thank you so much, Rabbi. We look forward to celebrating many more happy occasions. Only simchas.
Bebopping along here. Thank you, that's great. Our current Temple Beth-El president is also a former president of our same institution, and that is Mike Shapiro, who, if my notes are right and memory served, also was our president between 2004 and 2006. And now, Mike comes back with an encore, serving once again as our rabbi, as we tonight honor Michael Torah in his role soon to be as Rabbi Emeritus, and welcome our road warrior, probably somewhere on I-75, Rabbi Jen Meingold, on the way. Mike, if you please.
I think bebop is a relative term. Congratulations on 23 years as our rabbi. begins in the fall of 2000, when Ruth Davidson and I were co-chairs of the Rabbinic Search Committee. Ruth's choice made a lot of sense, but me, what were they thinking? Our search committee had been at it for many months without finding the right candidate. In January of 2001, I stopped by the Temple office to pick up another resume. It was just before the Temple Art Show. I know this because after I read the resume, Brandeis, Harvard, HEC, Australia, New York, also married to a rabbi, young family, I immediately went into the kitchen and said to Luke Crosner, who was making the chopped liver for the art show, I think I'm holding our next rabbi in my hand. Now let me stop for a second, and as a by-the-by, please note the Torah is in there. As a by-the-by, I never understood our people's fascination with chopped liver, or why we served it at the art show, especially when we were trying to make a good impression on the greater community. And I'm sorry, but putting a Ritz cracker underneath it offers no improvement. So anyway, Crosner was in the kitchen, elbow deep in chicken livers and schmaltz. And he said to me, "Let me see the resume." And then he nodded in agreement. We both were impressed. And I'm convinced that I can locate that resume, which is in a box someplace in my house. Chopped liver residue is still on there. So, armed with your resume, and anxious to talk with you, I left the temple. I almost believe it was a Thursday, and I phoned you around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I wasn't expecting you to answer the phone, but to my surprise, you picked up, and I thought to myself, why isn't he at work? I soon found out why. We began to talk, engaged in pleasantries and formalities, and then you suddenly needed to excuse yourself, and you explained your son Gideon was arriving home from school. You put the phone down, and I could hear you. "Gideon, your dad is on a really important phone call, and I need your help. But first, tell me how was school today." I listened to a dad talking to his son, and it told me a great deal about your values, character, and what was important to you. It's possible, Michael, that innocent exchange between you and Gideon, as I eavesdropped, could have been one of the most significant moments of the entire interview process. You were interviewing without realizing, and I went from thinking you may be the right person to being confident that we needed to meet. It was now spring of 2001, and I was waiting at the gate at the Southwest Terminal at Tampa Airport. This was pre-9/11, when you could actually greet someone at the gate. Anyways, I had only seen a grainy photo from the Temple bulletin from your congregation in Port Washington. This was before email, Facebook, and Google were commonplace. All I knew, I was waiting for someone who kind of looked like George Costanza. Turns out, the Seinfeld reference wasn't really accurate. But when you were the only one who stepped off the plane with a kippah, I knew I had my name. The initial visit to St. Petersburg was followed by phone calls, additional interviews, reference checks, another visit here, a visit to Port Washington, but it was only after you attended and witnessed our Welcome Back to Hummus party at 1102 Jumbo, and you still decided to take the job, even after witnessing a Welcome Back to Hummus party at 1102 Jumbo, that I knew we were making the right choice. You arrived at a very challenging time for our congregation. We had been without a rabbi for some time, and many of us were either really anxious and excited to finally have a rabbi, while others probably didn't think we needed one. Truth is, it was a difficult period in life for our congregation, but you accepted the challenge and helped us move forward, and you have successfully led us to where we are today, and to the cusp of an exciting new chapter. Perhaps a little like Moses leading the Israelites to the Promised Land, except you're passing the torch to Jen rather than a Joshua. Truth is, I am not sure we this particular moment without you and Betsy. You have prepared us, and we are extremely grateful. A lot has certainly changed in the last 20 years. First, our hair is really different than it was back in the day. I am significantly grayer, and your hair is, well, let's just say, much shorter. Another change, you continue to evolve as a rabbi, not afraid to embrace change, and as Craig said, now we perform interfaith weddings. And lastly, the art show no longer serves chopped liver. Now, congregants can decide on their own which is the more significant change, although full disclosure, you had nothing to do with my brain nor the chopped liver decision. When you arrived, social action, now social justice, consisted of a mitzvah day and a crop walk. That was it. Look at it now. Adult education has grown because of you. As several have already said, anyone who has witnessed you with our bar and bat mitzvah kids, finding just the right prop to use, and it's easy to see why our kids are so drawn to you. It's a testament to you that many of your former teens still have you in their contacts, and know you are just a text away. I hope you're really proud of what you have created and accomplished with our youth. Rabbi, you shine at life cycle events. A congregant recently shared that even though you never knew her brother, your eulogy at his funeral was incredible. I've witnessed your talents many, many times at life cycle events, and the congregation is so appreciative of all of your efforts. Weddings, namings, bar and bat mitzvahs, funerals, all of the life cycle events. I think you were at your best. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention perhaps one of your most significant and memorable contributions to our congregation. I've already mentioned social justice, adult education, you work with our kids, as well as your expertise at life cycle events. Those go without saying. You've also helped with conversions, counseled the interfaith, and met with congregants at their time of need. You educated us and challenged us to be more open-minded. You even introduced us to apps. You even opened our eyes to mental health. Yes, you did all those things, and it's really impressive. And while you certainly have made an impact and left your mark, perhaps none has been greater than you introducing our congregation to the visual aid. I want to conclude with a heartfelt thank you. We've shared many moments, and I value all of them. Rabbi, you've been there for many important milestones for my family. For the birthdays and confirmations, the weddings, and the funerals. You've been a part of my life, and I am truly grateful. Your words, advice, support, and friendship mean a great deal to me. I think together, you and I were a good team. We started with the search committee, and now we have arrived at Emeritus. It has been a great ride. To my friend, to my rabbi, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well done. Going forward in our luminous lineup, we next come to Becky Weiss, who is our neighbor. And Becky has done many things for the synagogue. Where are you, Becky? I know you're here somewhere. There. Okay. And she is going to speak tonight and offer her special thoughts about Rabbi Torah, and once again, to be consistent as a point of personal privilege, did I love having Sarah and Daniel in my class? You bet your sweet Bippy I did. So, Becky, I don't have my glasses on, but there you are, if you please. Thank you.
Well, I'm actually here here to kind of shift the gear with the presentations of, for presentations and as a representative of the committee, the retirement committee. But I must say, from my family to you and to yours, what the last 20 years have meant to us. You came at a really critical time, certainly in our congregation, but also in America when we had just passed, when 9/11 had just happened. And spiritually, I know for myself, I was lost. And the need of a spiritual leader was so very important. And you came and it made a difference. You've also been there for our children through all their education. You started when Daniel was in kindergarten and saw them all the way through. And our kids have grown up together. Gideon, Hannah, Aaron, Daniel, and Sarah. And have made a very important impression on our lives. In addition to our trip to Israel in 2017. And if you can ever go to Israel with Rabbi, and certainly Betsy would, I'm sure, would be just as fun as well too. It was an incredible trip, seeing Israel in a whole different light than I'd ever seen it before. And I thank God for that trip because of where we are now with Israel, having just been there. It means even more to understand what's going on now. But as I said, I'm here as a representative of the retirement committee, and as a central part of your Rabbi, social justice work has been a passion of yours. As we, your retirement committee, thought about, I'm going to put my glasses on. Thought about the best ways to thank you and honor you for your 20-year commitment to our congregation, we decided to rename the Social Justice Fund the Rabbi Michael Torah Social Justice Fund.
How about that? Very nice. Thank you, Becky. That's a nice legacy to have going forward, Rabbi. Good. Okay. If you look on your program, you will notice that we are coming toward the end, denouement, but we still have some important things to do. We have next from our luminous lineup, presentation to Rabbi, and I'm going to call upon a couple of people here. Two of them are our immediate past presidents, co-presidents, no need to yet get up. That would be Stephanie Margolis and Lisa Cohen. Just so y'all will know I am consistent, I just want you to know Lisa Cohen and Victor. God, you tell I'm really doing well. Yeah, Louis, I'm drinking. They have a son, Josh Cohen. Did I love having Josh in class? And he's here. And he's helping his parents, and he's helping our synagogue. So thank you. And we also are going to call back to the Bima with Lisa and Stephanie, our current president, Mike Shapiro. And Lisa, Stephanie, Mike, if you please.
Havdalah is the perfect metaphor for tonight. One of the understood meanings of Havdalah is transition. We transition from the week that was to the week that lies ahead. And as you look back at your 20-year week that you're concluding, as you look back at the 20-year week that you're concluding, you know that there is unlimited potential and countless blessings that await in the weeks and years that lie ahead.
On behalf of the Board of Directors and the Temple Beth-El congregation, Mazel Tov on your retirement. We wish you the best of luck and much happiness and heartfelt wishes for the new chapter in your life. We want to thank you for serving our community and for all that you've done for us over the past 20 years as a congregation and as individuals. We thank you for educating us. We thank you for your support. And most of all, we thank you for teaching us to be kind, giving human beings. Thank you for being you. As we give you this gift, visually, not audio, it's with a few thoughts and wishes for you. When you mention retirement, there's no shortage of conversation, advice, benefits, places to visit, plans to make, the beginnings of an open road, time to follow dreams long set aside. Enjoy your retirement with good health, peace, and fun. Enjoy the upcoming moments, whether it's from the delicate folds of origami or the fragrant aromas of good barbecue, the joy of watching a seedling take and sprout, to the joy of harvesting your own veggies, the quiet pleasure of being able to complete a thought, Rabbi, something that's probably very unfamiliar to you, to write your story, to follow your dream. And last but certainly not least, to watch a baseball game from the first inning to the last, with the occasional nap in the bottom of the sixth.
The gift we have for you was chosen specifically with the Havdalah ritual in mind. It is a beautiful Havdalah set engraved with your name. We want you to always have fond memories of your extraordinary years of service at Temple Beth-El.
We have only the best wishes for good health and success in your future endeavors. Temple Beth-El is fortunate to have you now as our Rabbi Emeritus. Like a recent graduate moving on to what's next, throw your kippah in the air in joy, retrieve it, and move on to more greatness.
Rabbis never truly retire. They just get gray around the temple.
Well done, well done, well done. The double entendre, gray around the temple. I like that. I believe, if I have this correct, that we are now going to go to Joyce Liu. That is correct, Desmond, thank you. And Joyce is going to speak to us pre-recorded. I'm not sure that she's singing, but she's going to come to us pre-recorded, and then we'll be back with you. So, to the screen, please. Thank you.
Hi. In the novel The Unbearable Lightness of Being, Milan Kundera writes, "The heavier the burden, the closer our lives come to the earth, the more real and truthful they become. Conversely, the absolute absence of burden causes man to be lighter than air, to soar into heights, take leave of the earth, and become only half real, his movements as free as they are insignificant. What then shall we choose, weight or lightness? Rabbi Michael, you have taught me the importance of showing up for the light moments and the weighty moments. Showing up to an ECC Shabbat where we could use silly voices and dance around the sanctuary with stuffed plushy Torahs singing Shabbat Shalom, hey. Showing up to the March for Fair Food alongside the coalition of Immokalee workers, where we used our grown-up voices, chanting, what do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. Showing up to the halls of Congress, asking our elected officials to write and pass laws to reduce gun violence. And on a personal level, when my own family was imploding, you agreed to escape with me for a couple of hours to go see Frozen 2. The two of us laughing and crying at Olaf, the snowman's existential crisis. Who does that? Only a true friend and a teacher who recognizes the unbearable lightness of a weighty moment would do that. My journey into Judaism didn't begin at Temple Beth-El, but Rabbi Michael, you certainly have brought me home to a place where I belong, where I find connection, community, and purpose. You have modeled for me the importance of being and being there, and I cannot thank you enough.
I will just say it again, that music is just unbelievable. Whether it is these beautiful people and Barbara, or it is Joyce and Nina, if you guys are watching this remotely, Nina and Joyce, thank you. And Joyce, thank you for your comments. And Berkeley is going to be enriched by having Nina there for college. Rabbi, we're going to ask you in a moment to come up and speak to us. And I just want to say that I think you were born like in 1962, thereabouts, something like that. So I happen to know that a woman named Ruth Ann Friedman wrote a song, and it was recorded by the Association, a band that Craig Shear probably knows. And it came out in May of '67. It went all the way to #1. And there was always a lyric from that song, written by a Jewish girl, Ruth Ann Friedman, that I love. And I think the fragment of the lyric speaks to how I feel and many of us feel about you. And the song is called Windy. Some of you know it. And the lyric that I love is, who's reaching out to capture a moment, everyone knows it's windy. And I would say to each of you, who's reaching out to capture a moment, everyone knows it's Michael. Without further ado, I give you Rabbi Emeritus to be Michael Torah.
The study found that Canadians are very fond of this apocryphal tale. In fact, it was their favorite one. When NASA first started sending up astronauts, they quickly discovered that ballpoint pens would not work in zero gravity. To combat the problem, NASA scientists spent a decade and $12 billion to develop a pen that writes in zero gravity, upside down, underwater, on almost any surface, including glass, and at temperatures ranging from below freezing to 300 degrees Celsius. The Russians used a pencil. As I look back over my entire rabbinic career, with the first 8 years serving in Melbourne, Australia, and 3 years in Long Island, prior to our 2 wonderful decades together here, there were certainly times when I strove to create, metaphorically, $12 billion pens, when a simple pencil could suffice. At the same time, I can review with joy and humility how, like astronauts, we have traveled through space and time together. Our first confirmation trip to New York included seeing the musical Rent early in its Broadway run. Who doesn't love the reference, 528,600 minutes, from the song Seasons of Love? Well, all told, our time together over 20 years totals 10.5 million minutes. 10.5 million minutes. In daylights, in sunsets, in midnights, in cups of coffee, in journeys to plan, in truths we learned, and in times that we cried, in bridges we built, and in the way people died. This evening has humbled me with gratitude in the manner in which you, my community, my Temple family, my son, on behalf of my entire family, have celebrated these years of life together. Years of friendship, and joy and faith, truly seasons of love. It's not merely the passage of time that we mark this evening. Many of you have spoken about the distance we have traveled together on this shared journey. In fact, through space in just 1 year, the Earth travels about 600 million miles around the sun. So together we have traveled 12 billion, there's that number again, 12 billion miles in our 20-year journey together. It's been a journey of discovery, experience, experimentation, innovation, celebrations, searching for meaning, encountering the holy, being present for one another in times of personal and communal need. It has been a journey that I feel blessed and immensely appreciative that I was entrusted to be your rabbi and walk with you on this path. I have been most fortunate to work in partnership with executive directors and an array of presidents and their leadership teams. And I have been supported by my colleagues over the years who comprised our religious life, programming, administrative, and maintenance teams. Any success that I have enjoyed has only been possible because of the partners who have supported my vision and shared in making it a reality. I find my vision for the rabbinate reaffirmed every time we say the Shema. Each time we affirm the oneness of God, that Adonai is Echad, singular, complete, one whole. We pledge in the second line, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed, to create a world, our world, God's dominion, that reflects that singularity, that sense of wholeness and completion. We implicitly pledge to repair what is broken, to make the world one as God is one. And then we chant the Rabbi Havdalah, which sets us on the path to doing this. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, you shall love Adonai your God with all your mind, with all your soul, with all your being. We may stop and ask, but how are we supposed to do that? How do we love God with all that we are and all that we have? Our tradition teaches us that every human being is created in God's image. Each of us is a reflection of God. To love God, therefore, implies that we begin with self-love. When we love ourselves, then we turn to the holiness code in Leviticus, where we read, love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Self-love by necessity leads us to loving others. And to love others in this framework means to care deeply enough about our fellow human beings, to bring them in from the margins, to pursue justice, equity, fairness, to pursue and create oneness for all of the world in which we live. We demonstrate to God that we do, in fact, love God with all our mind, with all our soul, with all our being. We show it by repairing a broken world and making it one, by healing it through the love of the other, and acts of faith and mitzvah and justice. We do it by answering the prophet Micah's call to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. This has defined the core principles of my rabbinic career. To be fully present and create moments of transcendent meaning at the most important junctures in people's lives, including traditional life cycle milestones, but also in times of acute need and intense joy. To share my own passion and enthusiasm for Judaism with others, knowing that it can be infectious in the best possible sense of the word. And to live a life of integrity and commitment to be the change, as well as advocate for the changes we need to create a more just and equitable world. I have been blessed to have found in my wife, Rabbi Betsy Torah, a true friend and life partner who has supported me in every way possible, and even more, whose loving care has meant that I could always pursue my rabbinic dreams. And I have been so fortunate to have 3 superb adult kids who have each found their own passion for Jewish life as they shared the journey at Temple Beth-El with me through the years. And finally, to you, my community, my friends, my students who have been my teachers, my advocates who have challenged me to be the best I can be, each of you whose loving care sustained me through the years, I owe you more thanks than words can express. So let me end simply by saying, Toda Rabah, thank you so very, very much.
Rabbi, thank you. Thank you. They say brevity is the soul of wit, and you certainly proved that tonight with your comments. Thank you.
Kept it under 20 minutes.
Kept it under 20 minutes. You hear that? Good. We have our final musical selections. You'll see them on your program from our lovely folks. Moment. But what you may not know, although you might have been cued when you came in, so for all of you on Zoom, I want you to replicate what we're going to do afterward. We're going to go out the front door, and we're going to have a little bubbly, a little champagne for Rabbi Torah. So if you are home, and you would like the libation of your choice, maybe if you're in Colorado, you want an edible, whatever, why don't you feel free? Because that's what we are all going to do at these say down south, we're fixing to go out and have a little champagne. So for all of our speakers tonight, remote and in person, and all of you lovely folks that were here, and to Rabbi Torek and everyone, Gideon and Hannah and Aaron, and Dr. Clifford and Leslie, all of us, we say thank you. When we conclude with our beautiful music, we will repair to the outdoor area. So everyone, well done. Rabbi, we love you. I present Barbara Mazer and the Jam and Juice.